BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Today, how do we control water runoff from towns and cities so it doesn't flood land being used for food production?
Watercourses and the management of them has been a really serious failure. We all have to work together to get ourselves out of the pickle that we're in.
We'll hear more about that a little later. But let's start in our grain fields. Now, harvest is well underway for arable farmers, and in just a couple of months' time, a new crop will be in the ground, ready for one of the most voracious pests farmers face, slugs. Traditionally, farmers have used ferric phosphate pellets to kill slugs, or taken a more expensive but eco-friendly route, using nematodes to eat up the pests. Well, now artificial intelligence could be coming to the rescue. Research backed by BOFIN, that's the British On-Farm Innovation Network, has seen the creation of the attractively named Slimers Project. Now, one of its team has built an experimental trial rig to go out among the crops to find out exactly where the slugs are hiding using an AI map. Under the cover of darkness, we sent our reporter Howard Shannon to a farm in Bedfordshire to meet Dr. Kerry MacDonald Howard on a nighttime mission.
So we're in a grain store here. I should point out it's just, not far off 11 p.m. at night. The reason we've waited for it to go dark, I presume, is because the slugs are now waking up.
Yes, because it's quite dry at the moment, so we have to have the humidity come up at this time of night.
Yeah.
And the humidity only comes up after 10:30, 11 o'clock.
We'll be joined in a moment, by the way, by Charles Painter, the farmer, but you're now in one of his barns. In front of me, it's a little Heath Robinson looking, and yet at the same time, it's got cameras, it's got four wheels, it's got computers bolted on the side of it. How would you describe this?
I would call it a skeleton of a wheelbarrow. The idea of this is it's a rig, and it's for me to collect data. So pictures of slugs. So this device is not looking for the slugs. This is to build the data set for later for us to develop the AI solution. For then we can actually see and spray the slugs and spray a biological control directly onto the slugs.
Oh, you're using nematodes to control the slugs?
That is the hope and the dreams, and that's what we're working towards.
OK, Kerry, let's do some science.
If you want to turn your back just a little, I'll turn this light off. Did you see that?
So there was a bright flash, a bit like a camera flash going off.
The image I just took is building a nice data set of what are the soil backgrounds that we find the different slugs on. And when I take a picture of the slug on that background, it can say, right, it knows this, and it recognises that slug because it picks up that slug in that band, in that wavelength against that soil. So it can differentiate between the both. Hello.
Charles.
Here comes the farmer riding up on the bicycle.
Hello, Charles. How did you get involved in it?
I joined BOFIN. So the idea is it's a farmer-led thing, which is all in vogue at the moment. And so farmers get to be involved with scientists and researchers like Kerry directly, and we talk about what we can do and what farmers need.
Did you get involved purely because actually nematodes are quite expensive to buy and you want to maximise their use, or do you feel this project itself is kind of cutting edge? And
it was really to do with needing to find other solutions for controlling slugs.
So what have you learned so far from these trials?
I learned that slugs like to live in groups, which we kind of knew, but it's revealing with more accuracy. I've learned that they like to go left-handed. That means that they tend to turn in one direction.
Okay, that's interesting.
So quite predictable. If we can move this technology forward and it works for us, then we'll be able to have another string to our bow, another way of controlling. And also, we won't necessarily have to be applying ferric phosphate, which, you could argue maybe it's not so great to be applying things like that, which, not particularly toxic, but again, it's, someone's having to make it and, spend money and resources on it. So it makes sense for us.
That report from Howard Shannon. In our interview yesterday with the President of the National Farmers Union about inheritance tax reform, Tom Bradshaw referred to the work of the Agricultural Chaplain for Suffolk, Graham Miles. He said the chaplain had been in touch because he was so concerned about calls he was getting from members of the agricultural community feeling under pressure. The chaplain's role is to support farmers who need help with the many different challenges they face. I've been to meet Graham Miles and Russell Abbott, who farms with his 80-year-old father just outside Ipswich. I joined Graham and Russell on the edge of a field of barley which had recently been harvested to talk about the agricultural chaplain's work.
As agricultural chaplain, I'm here to support people like Russell and his family. Farmers phoning me up each day, concerned about the future of their family farm.
Do people ring you and say, I'd like to have a chat? Or do they come to church?
It's a bit of both. I go and visit farms across Suffolk. They invite me onto farms. And some farmers say that they can't always get to church because of their farm commitments. So me going onto the farm, I've taken church to them. And it doesn't matter what faith or religion they are. You know, I'm here just to support them in any way I can.
We've just settled by the edge of a field here.
Farming's a very lonely life. It's a job to get farmers to talk. In Suffolk now, we haven't got a livestock market at all, which was a great meeting place for farmers. So my message has been throughout, it's good to talk, let's talk.
Well, Russell Abbott is with us, and Russell, you're here on the farm that you were born on. We bumped into your dad on the way out. He was in his 1986 tractor, wasn't he?
His 1986 Ford 4610 tractor. He'd just been cultivating between the rows of the sprouts and cauliflower at the farm shop.
He said quite openly, although he didn't want to talk on the microphone, that the one thing that is really troubling him is the inheritance tax.
Yes, he now feels that he's got to go really before next April.
Is that the phrase that he uses?
He just says that he'd be better off if he wasn't here.
What do you say, Russell, to your dad when he starts talking about not being here?
I listen to me dad, of course I do. I understand my father, and I don't think he's in that state of mind. I don't think that he'll do anything silly. Not for 1 second, but I do understand what he's saying. I suppose in some ways what he said to me is, if I took my last breath before next April, I'll die happy. You know, I'll die happy. Well, you know, that's awful to hear. And yes, in some ways it'll probably do me a favour, won't it? But I'd never wish that upon my father. I mean, I'm just so thankful for every day I've had with my dad.
No, I'm getting more people phone me up, and I listen to them and, you know, trying to make them feel better in themselves. I can't get involved with the politics, but what I can get involved with is what the politics is causing, the stress, the anxiety, the depression. People like Russell, we meet up at a pub and have a beer, and you know, Russell sort of talks to me perhaps where he wouldn't sort of talk like to his family, and I think that's good.
We do have a forum where we can share. We called ourselves East Anglian Farmers Unite. We talk about, might be my situation, their situation. It's great to talk.
Just listening is really important, isn't it, for farmers to listen to each other?
And I do pray every day that Russell and the other farmers out there, their concerns are heard.
Agricultural Chaplain for Suffolk, Graham Miles. Details of organisations offering information and support with mental health in agriculture are available at bbc.co.uk/action line. Now to water. It has a crucial role in all our lives, whether there's too much of it when it floods or too little when drought hits. Well, yesterday, the DEFRA Secretary of State, Steve Reed, spoke at a special water summit hosted by the NFU, where policymakers, environmentalists and farmers all had their say about the future of water in England. And we'll hear from the meeting in tomorrow's programme. All week we're visiting different parts of the country where water use for farming, homes and conservation all have to work together. Normally we hear about runoff of water after heavy rain from fields, but farms close to large urban areas can be prone to flooding when water from towns and cities passes through their land. An innovative project is underway in Shropshire on arable land where crops have been destroyed by this type of flooding. Bob Hockenhull reports.
The water you can hear is in a concrete channel known as the Northern Interceptor. It's flowing from nearby Telford across Bruce Udale's farm, more than 2,000 acres of low-lying arable land, which is also crisscrossed with a network of drainage ditches and the River Strine.
We're right on the edge of Telford and Telford New Town, which is ever expanding, and we happen to farm some quite low land, peaty land, on Eighton on the Weald moors. From time to time we do get under pressure from water out of Telford, which comes in a very flashy form, straight off the streets. There was no regulation to hold that water back, so we're subject to intensive amounts of water for a short time, which is our biggest problem.
And what does it actually do to the land?
Well, from an arable point of view, if you've got, say, a crop of potatoes there, once the water is over the top of the soil, you can assume that those potatoes are rotten. Every one will disappear within a day or two. They'll just be squashy mush. And of course it's a very expensive crop to grow. Under the right weather conditions and without flooding you can grow some very good crops on this soil. But of course every now and again you get caught out. But what we don't accept is not doing as much as we can to actually overcome the problem. But of course with climate change and fresh development in Telford, the pressures will be ever increasing over the next few years, and so we've got to be prepared for that. It's so annoying when we know everybody could do more to stop these problems. I've suggested building a balancing reservoir nearby to take surplus water.
Help is on the way for Bruce. Kate Main, a water management expert, is working alongside other partners on a project to track the water flows. Data collected will inform the authorities on what should be done to prevent flooding or water shortages.
We've been working with the River Severn Partnership on a project called the Advanced Wireless Innovation Region project. Part of that scheme is to set up a lot of telemetry in this area. So we've got flow sensors and level sensors and weather gauges, which is helping us understand the flows in the river system here.
Bruce has said that some of the problems are caused by the urban area of Telford, which is nearby, and water flooding down here. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, certainly. We're expecting potentially another 10,000 houses to be built in the next 10 years in Telford, and all that water, its destination will be in this direction. So it's really important that we start understanding how these flows move.
What are the sort of things you might do in the future to mitigate some of that water coming out of Telford?
Water is such a limited resource at certain times of year, especially now when we're in drought conditions. So being able to understand when it's available and how we might attenuate it at that point in time is really quite important. We need water to irrigate our crops. There's a really high demand from Telford for the public water supply. So being able to put in reservoirs or balancing pools or mitigation measures all the way through the system is like a really important output of this project.
So at the end of the monitoring, what will happen? You've mentioned some of the solutions there, but who is actually going to put that in?
Yeah, I think this project is going to speak to both the regulators, the Environment Agency, and also the farmers. So if we can attenuate it, we can be helping solving environmental problems, but also be making sure that we've got water for what we need to do, which is grow food. Walking away from watercourses and the management of them has been a really serious failure. So it's a really holistic solution that we need to find, but it means we all have to work together to get ourselves out of the pickle that we're in, frankly.
Kate Main ending that report by Bob Hockenhull. That's all from us today. I'm Anna Hill. The producer was Rebecca Rooney. Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.